It would have been worse. Yeah, exactly. I was waiting. I waited as long as I could. All right. How'd you make out? All good. Are we waiting for the live stream? Are we waiting for the live stream?
It's 6 o'clock.
Oh, that's what's going on. Oh, okay.
We're ready to go, but we're not fixed yet. It's like one.
Yep.
Just go read signal.
Just playing that one.
Start your engines.
Okay. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. If any member has reason to believe this meeting is being held in violation of this act, they should state so at this time. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mrs. Werner, Mr. Venuto,
Here.
Mr. Ledwin,
Here.
Mrs. Notch, Ms. Sheehan,
Here.
Mr. Walsh,
Here.
Mr. Zexer,
Here.
Mr. Bodnar.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, first of all, we need a motion to adopt the minutes from June 27th, 2024. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
We have a motion by Ms. Sheehan, seconded by Mr. Zexer. Mr. Ledwin?
Abstain.
Abstain?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Abstain.
Mr. Zexer?
Yes.
Mr. Bodnar?
Yes.
Mr. Venuto?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next we need a motion to adopt Resolution 725, 2024, Mark Jacoby and Roxanne Went Irrevocable Income Only Trust, 434 West Perry Street, Block 1031. We have a motion?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who motioned? Mr. Zexer, thank you. Mr. Zexer motions, Ms. Sheehan seconds. Mr. Ledwin?
Abstain.
Ms. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Abstain.
Mr. Zexer?
Yes.
Mr. Bodnar?
Yes.
Mr. Venuto?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next we need a motion to adopt Resolution 725, 2024, 1134 Lafayette Street, LLC, 1134 Lafayette Street, Block 1113. You have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Is that Mr. Bodnar?
Mr. Zetzker.
Mr. Zexer, thank you. We have a motion by Ms. Sheehan, seconded by Mr. Zexer. Mr. Ledwin?
Abstain.
Ms. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Abstain.
Mr. Zexer?
Yes.
Mr. Bodnar?
Yes.
Mr. Venuto?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll need a motion to adopt Resolution 725, 2024, Ronna Fuller and Burnett McGlade, 1326 New York Avenue, Block 1147. We have a motion?
Motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Zexer, seconded by Ms. Sheehan. Mr. Ledwin?
Abstain.
Ms. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Abstain.
Mr. Zexer?
Yes.
Mr. Bodnar?
Yes.
Mr. Venuto?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Our first application is,
Ms. Keenan? Yacht Harbor Marine, that says it's withdrawn, so we don't do any announcement, that's just withdrawn.
So the reason I included it was adjourned to this meeting, so I wanted people who may have been following it to be aware that they withdrew it.
Okay, I just wanted to make an announcement, that was my.
I don't,
I was
unless
more
we could
concerned
just say
about
it's been,
myself. We'll have to do an announcement. No,
you
okay.
could just say it's been withdrawn.
Okay, and now the second one, Ramo, that's being adjourned, correct?
So it's listed third on the agenda, but it is being adjourned if you want to announce now.
So why don't we announce that now, in case
Okay.
anybody's interested in that, and then we'll do the first one. Mr. Chairman, is that okay? Which one you want to do? Yeah, this third one's being adjourned, so I just want to announce that now. One, so I don't forget, and two, in case somebody's listening, they know that it's not happening, okay? So we have an application on our agenda for James and Carol Ramo. Was anybody here for that? Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay, fine. I meant anyone who was concerned about it, but I guess you're concerned too, but okay. Well, just to explain for the public, because we really don't like last-minute adjournments, because sometimes people come out even in the rain for things, and then they find out it's adjourned, and it's frustrating. But I just want to make sure that you understand that that particular application requires a D variance, which is a variance that requires 5 affirmative votes. So when it requires 5 affirmative votes, we'd like to have a full board, because even if there's only 6 or 5 board members here, they still need 5, so it's sort of unfair. So they can get 1 or 2 no's and still have a chance to win. So we found out rather late in the game today that one of our members could not attend, so we only had 6. So we gave the applicants the option to adjourn if they had a D variance. So Ramo elected to adjourn, Dougherty did not. So Dougherty's going to go forward with the 6 people, but Ramo is not. So Ramo is application James and Kyle Ramo, 266 Grant Street, Block 1019, Lot 7. That application is being adjourned, and that will be heard at the meeting on August 22nd, 2024, at this location at 6 o'clock. There will be no further publication or notice. This is your notice, so if you want to appear either in favor or to object to that application, you have to appear on that date at that time. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And Yacht Harbor Marine LLC is withdrawn, so that application is just withdrawn, so, okay.
Okay, so our only
Yeah. Yes, ma'am, August 22nd, 2024 at 6 PM at this location, yes. I was hoping you weren't here for that, we both walked through the rain together, but,
Ms. Burns, I did call your number and left a message, so I'm sorry you missed it, because I saw it on the, okay, sorry about that.
Okay, so our application that we're reviewing this evening is Frank and Joyce Dougherty, 1832 Maryland Avenue, Block 1223. Can you come forward, please?
I'm good. They might not be able to over there.
Yeah, you want to maybe get that. Let's get rid of the chair here, and then maybe you can come up in there.
that was Ron's fault.
I took responsibility.
So much for being helpful.
At least I didn't trip you. Okay, ready? Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Ron Gelzunas, appearing on behalf of Frank and Joyce Dougherty. Obviously to my right, property, as you know, is 1832 Maryland Avenue. This is a semi-detached dwelling. It's located on its own lot and has a shared wall with the adjoining dwelling. The proposal this evening is to construct an exterior elevator tower on the rear of the building that will be inside the existing footprint of the exterior first deck, and to convert an existing enclosed porch area into a hallway from the elevator to a new ADA accessible bathroom. And this elevator will also provide access from the ground level to all parts of the home. Our witness this evening is Miss Christina Amy to my left. She is an architect. Of course, Mr. Frank Dougherty to my right. If we could have them sworn in, please.
Okay, will each of you please raise your right hand? We're also going to swear in our board engineer, Craig Hurlist. Do each of you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, and the Doughertys also.
Thank you. Christina, would you just briefly place your credentials on the record?
Yes, my name is Christina Amy of Christina Amy Architects. I am a licensed New Jersey architect. I have appeared before this board and most of the ones in the county, and I've been in practice for coming on 16 years now.
Chairman, accept Miss Amy as an expert?
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Mr. Gelzunas, could you just move the microphone a little closer? Thank you.
How's that better? Okay.
I'm having trouble
All right,
hearing you myself. Thanks.
Christina, why don't you take us through the site, the existing conditions on the site, the whole building, the exterior, and then through the proposal.
Can I just ask, are all these part of the application or any of these exhibits?
One would be an exhibit. It is an enlargement of what was on the application. There are no
Okay.
changes or no additional information, and I have a copy for you if you'd like it.
Okay, thank you.
Exhibit A is an enlarged, what is that?
First floor plan of both the existing and proposed. And if you want, Karen, I can give that to you right now, actually. So starting with a copy of the plans you have in front of you, the property is 50 feet wide and 125 feet deep. There is an existing adjoining single-family dwelling on it, so it's adjoined with the property to its left if you were looking at it, I'm sorry, to its right if you were looking at it from the street. So there's a common wall, and then it is fully compliant for all setbacks, front, side, and rear, building height, flood regulations, and, sorry, get my chart out here. It is an existing nonconformity for floor area ratio, and I believe that happened, I looked at the original drawings from an addition that was done 2001, and I believe it was hand-drawn by a different firm, and I believe at that time, there's a level of accuracy that takes place with hand drawings, especially when it's not a simple rectangle of a building. And I believe that the existing building and that floor area ratio, I think it's a 1% difference, is part of that level of accuracy in a hand drawing versus today. With computers, we can get much more accurate in those calculations. So the existing building was proposed to be compliant. Again, it's slightly over the floor area ratio. We are proposing to add an elevator tower at the rear of the building, as well as utilize some of the space of an existing screen porch here at the rear of the building. This is the street side here for Maryland Avenue at the rear of the building, and utilize some of the area of the screen and porch to allow access on the first floor to that elevator, as well as provide a full ADA bathroom in there from a floor space perspective. We looked at several areas to locate this, either within the structure or other places on the exterior. We chose this to be least intrusive from both looking at it from the street, from neighbor's view towards the water, as well as the use of the existing house. So as I said, there's no increase in the overall building footprint. We located it either the elevator where there were existing decks, and then utilize portions of the existing screen porch for the enclosed areas to access the elevator from the first floor. On the upper floors, the elevator butts directly against a wall of a non-private space within the home, so the door can open directly into that area. The height of the elevator shaft is below the overall existing building height. The enclosed portions of the existing screen porch, again, to access the elevator and a new bathroom. Here's the existing plan. I don't know how well you can see that over there. The orange line is the portion that the addition would occur in. And again, we're keeping it as condensed as possible against the existing house, allowing for the turning radius of the wheelchair, and that is all. The bathroom needs to accommodate the wheelchair and actually a little transfer lift to get out of the wheelchair into a seat. The intended use, the person using it, doesn't have access to get out of the wheelchair on their own. They need to have that lift. So there's floor space that is required that the existing bathrooms can't accommodate. Again, there's no additional bedrooms proposed. There's no increase in proposed occupancy from the current use. It's just allowing this access and a bathroom to accommodate that. Again, we looked at alternative locations. This was least intrusive to the neighbors and the view from the street. It's preserving the greatest light, air, and open space by being within the existing footprint. And the existing configuration and structural layout of the house limited other options of location and prevented a viable internal option. Do you want to keep going? I was just going to say, the site can accommodate this proposed expansion. Again, there's no increase in the footprint of the building itself. There's, again, the elevators where the decks are, the bathroom, access to the elevators within the screen porch. We're not proposing an expansion of internal space upstairs or on the third level. There's no increase in the occupancy, no increase in needed parking, and the only intention is to accommodate accessibility for wheelchair use. Currently, the person's carried into the house. but they're only a small child at the moment. They're going to grow, and that will become impossible for the homeowners. So currently, the wheelchair user is a small child, and so as they grow, carrying them into the house and then through the house will become not a viable solution as they grow. I mentioned the existing floor area ratio, and again, we kept our addition as tight as possible as we could to the house with allowing proper access. I might be getting ahead of myself, but I don't see any detriment to the public good in doing this. And again, the special reason for the health, safety, and welfare to allow this child, to remain with the family at this summer home for them and access to all floors of the house is kind of critical for their life and happiness within the family.
Okay, you good?
Yep.
Okay, so just to clarify a couple of points. You mentioned something where we're slightly over the floor area ratio, which is in this block, and according to the ordinance, what's the maximum floor area ratio?
The maximum floor area ratio permitted is 0.5. In the chart for floor area ratio, there's an exception for certain blocks in town. This is one of those blocks, so the allowable floor area ratio is 0.5. The existing, like I said, is 1% over at 0.51, and we're proposing 0.53.
Okay, so the point that, the 0.1 that it's over from what's permitted, the 0.5, that wasn't known to anyone until you embarked on your drawings and measurement of the house.
Correct.
So when the house was constructed, it was properly CO'd, it was permitted and was constructed, and no one knew about this 0.1 overage.
To my knowledge, again, I wasn't the architect involved at that point, but yes, I have no evidence that it was deemed in compliance at that time.
But you suspect that the reason is because they were dealing with a set of hand-drawn plans, and that could throw you off. That's within the margin of error, so to speak.
It is within the margin of error. The owners had a copy of those hand-drawn plans, and we actually used those when we went and measured the house. There was nothing that deviated from those plans from a measurement standpoint, so it would seem that it was a calculation error.
So the additional area that we're creating in this application of floor area ratio, just to be clear, is coming from what specifically? An existing closed-in porch will be converted?
Correct. An existing closed-in porch will be partially converted into interior living space. On your A or Z2 sheet, there should be a little diagram in the upper center portion that illustrates the floor area ratio calculation. I'm just going to slide this one up for a moment. It's located right there in the center. So the shaded portions are what I calculated in the floor area ratio as part of that calculation.
So the only part of this, which is actually an expansion of the structure, is the elevator shaft.
The elevator shaft and there's a corner of the deck above here, which is going to be expanded about 2.5 feet, but that's compliant. That's not a floor area ratio, and it's within the setbacks and overall lot coverage.
And everything you're proposing is within the setbacks and the coverage?
Correct.
The-
Yes.
The little squaring off of the deck and the elevator shaft.
Correct.
In fact, the elevator shaft, I think, is contained within the footprint of the first floor, the lower deck.
Correct.
And it just protrudes slightly out past the second.
Yeah, the decks
Story deck.
step back as the house gets higher, and so the elevator shaft staying one continuous dimension. As the deck steps in, it does come in past the wall of the elevator.
So one of the criteria we're looking at here as you designed this and thought it through under the ADA and the New Jersey laws is that, is this the minimum necessary to provide accessibility so that the person using the accessibility has equal access to the entire structure?
Yes, this is.
So did you look at, well, could you internalize the entire thing? And what would be the problems with that? And would that be reasonable to be able to do that?
We looked at different options, and then we couldn't find a reasonable option that didn't essentially place an elevator in the middle of a living space, which then deems that quite unusable.
And that would have taken substantial structural
It would have.
alterations to the structure, to the building.
Substantial alterations, as well as the fact that this house was renovated once before, perhaps more unknowns that we couldn't predict that would have made it impossible if we were to open it up, even with,
So this elevator provides access to the ground level so that you can go from your car to the base of the elevator.
it provides access, yes, from the ground. Oops, I thought I had the plans here,
And you
sorry.
did that without any significant modification to the structure. The
Correct.
front door, the
The
entranceway.
entranceways stay the same, the view from the street stays the same, but we added a door at the ground level here, and then that comes up the roughly, I'll call it 2.5, 3 feet into the house, so that allows access at the first level. It has direct access into the living room area, so that allows access at this floor. And then this upper family room area, which is where the family spends the bulk of their time, also direct access into there.
And those are also special reasons or advancing the health and welfare of
Yes. As an upside-down house, the ground level is bedrooms only, so the main living space is on the second and third floors, so it provides access to those as well.
And I think you went through the reasons why the site can accommodate this. You're not the intensity of use on the property is not going to change, correct? It's the same amount of people, same amount of.
Correct. The intensity does not change. The parking does not need to be increased upon. The number of bedrooms does not change or increase in any way.
And that leads you to the conclusion that the site can accommodate this.
Yes. And again, we also located the elevator so that it wasn't intrusive of the neighbor's view towards the water, which is kind of out here
It
perspectively.
is in the back of the property where you're not going to see this from the street.
Correct.
Frank? Yes. Tell us, how long have you owned the property?
Microphone.
You got to turn it on? There you go.
There we go. We bought the property in, I have to defer to my wife, 1993.
And how do you use the property? So
We use it from June, middle of June until the middle of September into October, and then periodically throughout the year. We live the rest of the time in Philadelphia.
And do you have any children?
We have 2 girls, both married, 2 grandchildren.
And one of your grandchildren is the person that we're
Yes.
basically discussing this evening.
My
Could you
young-
Tell us about her.
Sure. My youngest daughter has 2 girls, one of which is Abigail. Abigail is 6. She was born with she was missing a gene in her brain, and it impacted her, she has critical eye impairment, which means that she can only see light and dark, and she's neurologically challenged. She's confined to a wheelchair. She cannot walk. She's immobile. She's currently weighs a little over 50 pounds, about 50 pounds. And up until this point, we've been able to, I would say up until about 3 or 4 months ago, 6 months ago, we were able to carry her up and down. I can still do that. My wife and my daughter cannot, my son-in-law can. My wife and I both share the care responsibility for Abigail, in particular during the summer months. In the winter months, she goes to school. She spends, I would say, somewhere between a month and a half and 2.5 months, depending upon the year, here in Cape May for the summer. And as she gets older, she'll probably spend more time here with us. And the reason for the elevator, at this point, we don't need an elevator, my wife and I, and nobody else in the family does. But we wanted to have her have the ability to be engaged with the family. It's important to her and to us that she's with us and not downstairs and we're upstairs or vice versa.
So how's the house structured? Like the activities in the house which occur, obviously you need access to the ground floor to go up.
Second and third floor.
But your
We have-
second floor and.
First floor is the bedrooms. Second floor is the living room, dining room, family room kind of combination, or living room, dining room, into an area where we don't have a television or anything like that, but it's a living room, dining room combination. And then the third floor is where we have, it's more like a family room. We have a TV, and it opens up the games for the kids and so on and so forth.
So this elevator traversing all 3 floors will,
Yeah, we thought about whether or not we wanted to bring it all the way up to the third floor. We decided, took a family vote, and everybody decided yes. We wanted to make sure that weren't motivated to leave her one place when everybody else was in a different place.
so she'd have equal access, the same as everyone else in the
Yes.
family to all parts of the
Yes,
home.
yes.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Doherty or Miss Amy?
I do for the architect. Is proposing to build an elevator with an elevator shaft on a semi-detached dwelling and retrofitting the elevator to the dwelling. Has any type of engineering assessment been made to determine whether there would be any issues constructing an elevator on this, in the dwelling, attached to the, to the other dwelling?
This would not be the first project I've had like this. I've had other elevator additions attached to a side of a building like this. Actually, this one is structurally actually a little bit easier and more stable because the decks connect. It gives horizontal bracing to the vertical shaft that we've done even without before. So there's no engineering restriction in this case. And it's not like, it's a residential elevator that can accommodate a wheelchair. It's not like a large commercial elevator. So the loads of the elevator are actually quite minimal. So there's no concern from an engineering standpoint of the ability to do that.
And it's, I mean, obviously, based on the plans, it's not connected to the common wall between this and the companion dwelling, right? It's a
Correct.
standalone.
Correct, it is not.
Any other questions?
I just want to confirm real quick that the elevator at the bottom opens up into the garage, correct?
No, there's no garage at the back. It opens direct to the exterior.
Oh.
So the wheelchair can come around the walkway on the side, direct into the elevator. It's under the deck, but, so it's covered. They could go direct into the elevator from the outside and then go up, exit at the first floor, or continue
And that
up the
has
building.
no issues on weather for that?
So the fact that it's under the deck actually helps, but again, the hardware is designed so that it can be.
Now, is there a ramp to the deck, or?
No, the deck, the ground level doesn't have a deck. The ground level,
Oh, I thought
the
you said
first
it-
floor doesn't have,
I thought
sorry,
you said
the
open-
upper
I thought you said
decks.
open to the deck, and that's why I was asking.
I'm sorry, it opens, it's under the deck. So there's a paver walkway.
Okay.
So the paver walkway would go to the elevator, so you can get in at the ground level.
Okay.
You can go up 2.5 to 3 feet into the first floor and come out at the first floor
Inside?
inside. You can continue up, or from that first level, go back into the elevator, continue up to the second floor, and then exit the elevator into the building directly, and then again at the third floor, same thing.
Okay. Is there any reason why you couldn't have it open like inside instead of outside? I was just curious.
So there's no,
I'm just thinking for weather conditions, like to,
so that would be, there's no garage.
Oh, there's no
There's no garage. If we,
sorry,
when we
I
do
didn't
new
think I
construction, we
realized
do
that.
try to do that. I know what you're asking, yeah. And we weren't looking to make another vestibule, increasing more floor area ratio. We were
Okay.
trying to minimize that.
thank you.
Any other questions? Greg, would you like to do your review?
Thank you. I'd like to summarize my July 18th, 2024 review memorandum. This is a project located in the R3 Medium Density Residential District. So this is an addition to a semi-detached dwelling, which is important with how it relates to the variance request. And I'll get into that in a bit. You've heard testimony from the applicants indicating exactly what they're proposing to do with the addition. So I'll skip that part of my review, and I'm going to roll right into the completeness review, which are the checklist items for the C and D variances. That's on page 205 of my report. They've requested waivers from item number 26, 27, 28, and 33. I did support that based on the nature of the improvements, the fact that this is an already built-out lot, and they're not affecting any of those things. So I did support the waivers of that and did recommend deeming the application complete. Moving on to my zoning review on the following page. I agree with the applicant. There's only one deviation from the required standards, and there's a typo in my report. So I apologize to the applicant. I actually make it look like they're asking for more of a departure. The floor area ratio for all semi-detached dwellings in the city is 0.45, with the exception of the 2 blocks that are on Maryland Avenue and right here. When the floor area ratios were adopted, there was a block-by-block study. It was recognized that these attached dwellings had larger floor areas than most. So the ordinance accommodated that. So the requirement, or the maximum permitted, is 0.50, only for these 2 blocks. So, there's some typos in my report that don't reflect that. To be honest with you, I forgot about it, and it didn't reflect it in my memo. So the requirement is 0.50 is a maximum, existing is 0.51, and proposed is 0.53. So those are the departures. It's a D variance. It requires 5 affirmative votes. Just want to make sure everyone remembers that. As we've described before, the applicant for a floor area ratio variance must only show that the site will accommodate the problems associated with a floor area larger than that permitted by the ordinance, and that relates to the Westwood, the Coventry Square versus Westwood Zoning Board of Adjustment case. I'll roll into my general review comments to start on page 4 of 5. Item number 1, I think this was a reference. There were some references to single-family dwelling as opposed to semi-detached dwelling in the application. The plans are correct. We just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. It's very important that we acknowledge that this is a semi-detached dwelling, which means it has a common party wall and it's attached to the dwelling next to it. The whole entire block is like that. Item number 2, we can scratch. They've addressed that. That does not need to be a condition of approval. Item number 3 is our standard review as it relates to stormwater runoff. They have increased lot coverage a little bit. They've removed stepping stones that access the rear of the property and provided a solid pervious paver walkway that's going to be ADA compliant, obviously. I guess the intent is when that person exits a vehicle, they have an accessible route right back to the elevator. So there is a slight increase in lot coverage. However, it's not considered major development. The grading is not being affected adversely, in my opinion. However, we have a standard condition that if they change the stormwater runoff patterns, that the grading and drainage plans should be required and approved by the zoning board engineer. Complementary to that is item number 4, which requires them to comply with Chapter 525, the minimum stormwater management and grading requirements, and that runs with the property. That means if there's ever a discharge of stormwater off the property, the city has recourse to go after them and have them fix that issue. Item number 5, there's 1 street tree that's required. There was none shown on the plan, so if that is the case, there should be 1 provided as a condition of approval. Item 6, there's a landscaping and vegetation plan has not been provided. So long as there's no proposed changes to the existing landscaping, I don't take any exception to that. 7 is our standard condition that they have to replace the sidewalk satisfactory to the board engineer after the construction has been taken place. Make sure that the contractor does not damage anything. Item number 8 is our standard requirement that they post an inspection escrow fee, and the CO is tied to an acceptable inspection. Item 9 is our standard condition that they have to comply with the Shade Tree Commission, Fire Department, and Public Works Department comments. We did receive reviews from the Fire Department. dated 5/7/24 that recommended approval. Public Works recommended approval dated 5/14/24, and Shade Tree Commission recommended approval 5/9/24. None of those had any comments. Item 10, any approval should be conditioned on compliance with all other state, county, and local approvals. 11 is just for informational purposes, but this is not in the historic district, so they do not need Historic Preservation Commission approval. Item 12, they have to comply with any and all applicable affordable housing requirements. And finally, item number 13, should the board grant approval, they're required to revise the plan sets and submit those to the board engineer for review and approval. That's a summary of my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
And the
I-
applicant agrees to all of those conditions.
I have a question for you, just for clarification. Since the semi-detached, is the floor area ratio for each house or just MS together?
Each house, because it
So each house is
it
different, okay.
relates to the lot. It's a ratio of the square footage to the lot that it sits on.
Okay,
So each one of those, they have, the lot line is on the common party line,
okay, so they're each are separate individually?
separate individual, correct.
I guess was my other question had to go with, there's always that 50% improvement and things like that. So that only goes, for when people do improvements to the house. If it's a certain ratio, then they have to raise the house or things like that. I was just
Correct.
going with how that works.
I believe that it would work on a lot-by-lot basis.
Okay. And then my other question is not really pertaining to this, but referencing this. They said it was hand-drawn. We require now all certified copies, right? So that this doesn't happen in the future?
They're always certified, and you
Okay.
can't stop.
I
They
didn't see
can-
this question.
Someone can still prepare a hand-drawn drawing.
Okay,
However, the accuracy with AutoCAD now, with digital drawings, is far superior to what we had 20 years ago.
Okay.
And that's why the applicant has stated that there's a discrepancy. They thought it was originally conforming. The records show probably when it went through the construction office, it was conforming. But now, looking back at it, putting it on a digital, and then there are angles to this, and that's where the math gets harder.
Okay.
From back then to now, and I understand why there's a discrepancy.
yeah, I just wanted clarity. Thank you.
Craig, I have a question for you also. Same thing, coming back to what that I asked the architect on the engineering assessment. We're talking about an existing house, retrofitting an elevator into the house. Just like, could you give us your opinion as far as whether an engineering assessment should be required as part of the process before constructing it?
That would be required by the construction official if they deemed it necessary. It's not really our role in the zoning. So if they're going to require it, they may ask for that. But I don't think it's appropriate for this board to comment or require it.
Well, we're also looking at the whole project as it relates to, with a semi-detached house, that they're going to be constructing something, that there's going to be, the construction activity, there's movement from the elevator. I think we do have a place to be able to look at this, at least to consider whether it's appropriate in the context of the application. I'm asking your opinion on that, and so I'm only saying that I think it is appropriate for us to at least consider it and discuss it, because my concern also is, yes, I recognize that's a construction issue, so the question then I would have is, so does construction really take a look at this? Because we're seeing more issues come up with elevators now.
Yeah, but it's not appropriate for us to do that. We have no expertise on that. We don't have an expert on the board who can testify to that. It's not really, once we start injecting engineering decisions into zoning decisions, then the court will question our motivation for the decisions we make. So you gotta be very cautious about expressing that you're gonna base a decision on something that is not a non-zoning basis. Because then, even if you then make your decision based on a zoning basis, the court can question your motivation. So the fact that you think that, and not you, I mean, the fact that a board member thinks that a particular addition might sink in the ground because there's marshland there, that's not a zoning consideration. If you think it might block the view, or it might be a discordant architectural feature, then that's something that you can base a zoning decision on. But the fact that you think the subsoils might not support the house, that's not a zoning decision.
Any other questions for Greg? Okay, at this point, we'll open up the conversation to anyone within 200 feet.
So, yeah, if you're going to speak.
Sure you hit that green, there's a button on the microphone, turn it green.
Gotcha.
All right, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies. I am the,
Hold on one second.
my name is Bruce Chandler.
Okay, I have to swear you in, and then I'm going to have you give your name, spell it, and give your street address.
Okay,
Sir, do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Can you please state your name and spell it for me?
My name is Bruce Chandler, Shandler.
Okay, and what is your address, sir?
1830 Maryland.
Thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit about 1830?
Yeah, I am the common wall to the Dohertys. And Frank's went over the plan with me a while back. And my wife Renee and I have no issues. Actually, they should be blessed that they can do this for their granddaughter. I would never get in the way of anything like that. So we have zero issues.
Very nice, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sir, do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Can you please state your name and spell it?
Yeah, Michael O'Neill, Oneill, 1805 New York Avenue. So my property sits directly in front of Frank's property, in fact, straight across. So I'm the only one on that side of the property, off the rear of his property. Our house faces theirs directly. We have no issues at all, just as Bruce had said, we're glad we can help and that they can do that. And I've seen the drawings. I am in that business building. I've looked at them very carefully. I think they're very thoughtfully done and look great, so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else within 200 feet? Anyone beyond 200 feet? Okay, at this point, we'll close it to the public. Okay.
Okay. This is a D variance because it has a floor area ratio variance, so you need 5 out of the 6 of you. The motion I'd recommend being made is a motion to grant the variance for the floor area ratio, which is 0.53, where 0.50 is permitted, subject to the waivers and conditions outlined by the board engineer in his testimony and in his report dated July 18, 2024.
Okay, can we have that motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Is that Mr. Bodnar who seconded it? Yes, thank you. We have a motion by Ms. Sheehan, seconded by Mr. Bodnar. Mr. Lewin?
Yes.
Ms. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Zexer?
Yes.
Mr. Bodnar?
Yes.
Mr. Venuto?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members.
Thank you all very much.
Good luck.
While you're wrapping things up, I just want to show you a picture of Judith Girl.
Come on, what's the matter? You should have let off with that. I open, I close.
I'm sure you needed a lawyer.
She is a sweetheart.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Brooke.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
So the bills. The bills.
Yes, next order of business is we have to make a motion to approve our bills.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Sheehan, seconded by Mr. Lewin. Mr. Lewin?
Yes.
Ms. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Zexer?
Yes.
Mr. Bodnar?
Yes.
Mr. Venuto?
Yes.
Thank you.
We good? We have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Frank, jeez. Frank. I want to have the locale at Stockton.
All right, now you can go eat. What's that? Now you can go eat.
Yeah, because I don't think
I get where they're coming from. It's not a zoning issue, but I also simultaneously